In this video, we are going to be restoring and getting working again an old fountain pen. Now, I'm kind of a fountain pen nerd, and this is one that I inherited from one of my grandfathers. Cool little piece of my family history right here in my hand. And you may have some of these laying around the house as well. Some old fountain pens that maybe got handed down to you or got thrown in a drawer. Maybe you'd like to get them working. So this is a very neat, inexpensive, and easy to do restoration project that you can do at home, and you only need a couple things. Now, since everything's small, we're going to spin around and get on the bench over here so I can show you how this is done. Now, this is the pen we are going to be restoring in this video, but I do want to show you two other common types of pen, so when you open it up, you know what you're looking at. Now, this kind of pen, when you open it up, they should unscrew. Now, if it doesn't unscrew easily, it may require a little bit of force, but it can be done. If it doesn't unscrew, or this one doesn't even unscrew, it just kind of is a slip fitting, you may have to get a little bit of water on it. Do not use a solvent. Now, in a situation like this, if you see how the base of this one is, these use these. These are bladders. What these are is these hold the ink. Now, I do want to really quick open up two other pens to show you what else you may run into. Now, this is a kind of more modern style pen. And inside here, pardon the squeakiness, this one is threaded, you'll notice the difference. This one doesn't have the little step down bit, and if you look inside here very carefully, try to get it to focus there, you'll see a little nub. And what that nub is for is to take one of these. This is a cartridge. So if you have a cartridge style, this process is the same, but a little bit different. The final kind is one of these. This is what most people refer to as a converter, and this has inside here something that holds the ink. Most really old ones you come across are going to be this style that need the bladder. Now, the first part of this process is just cleaning everything, because chances are these all have old dried up ink inside, and that process is the same no matter what pen you get. So let's first start with the cleaning process, and what we're going to do here is we're going to get this thing back open, and this one, if I start going like this, I'm going to start getting all of that dried up ink out of it. And if I need to get more out, I'm going to come in here with a little skewer and start feeling around in there. Now there is, you see right there, there is a little bar. That little bar actually depresses the bladder in here and allows you to pick up ink. So we don't want to bend or mangle that bar. So we're going to go in there very, very carefully. That's why I'm using wood and not a piece of metal, and work on just breaking up the ink that's dried in there, as well as the dried up bladder. The bladders are made out of latex, so latex does dry out over time. That's why these do need servicing and to be replaced. And you can see I'm getting a lot of crud out, but I'm definitely not getting all of it out. There's still some stuff that's in there, and I don't really want to beat around in there too much and cause any damage. The same applies for this part here. We're going to go in here and just kind of get any little bits off that we can. Like I mentioned earlier, you do not want to use a solvent. A lot of these older pens were made out of things like Bakelite and not necessarily plastic, or the current plastics that we're used to. So a lot of mild solvents, including rubbing alcohol, could dissolve the pen itself, and you don't want to do that. So I've gotten as much loose stuff out of here as I can. I know I have a lot more in here, so now we're going to get this thing wet. We are just going to use water. I'm going to be using distilled water and an ultrasonic cleaner to get everything out, because I don't want to break anything inside this. All right, so we're going to put the parts of our pen in our ultrasonic cleaner. Now in here I just have, we're going to fill this thing, make sure it gets full. I just have warm water, not hot water, warm water. And let's watch this thing dance. Now, you can already see in here all the ink that is getting dissolved and pulled out of it. Now, you don't need one of these. You don't need an ultrasonic parts cleaner. This just helps everything go faster. If you've just got a thing of water and you can kind of swish around in there, it'll do just fine. This just makes things clean quicker. Checking in about a minute later, you can see we're still getting ink out of this guy right here. This one I've gotten some material out of, and this thing, I put the cap in there. The cap is, a ton of stuff has come out of the cap. You can see the watercolor has gotten darker. We're going to keep this in here for a lot longer because I'm still getting a lot of stuff out of this thing. Now I'm sure somebody was screaming at their phone or their computer going, hey, wait a minute, you didn't actually disassemble the whole pen. You left that part in there. And you're right, I did. There's a reason for that. Oftentimes, all the stuff basically becomes glue in there and glues this whole thing together, and taking it apart can damage this. I'm going to show you a trick. Now that we've let this thing kind of clear itself out to get this nib out without damaging it, we're going to take a little bit of good old Scotch tape, put it over the nib, press it down really good, and then pull straight. The nib comes right off. So there's our nib. You can see at this point there's not a lot, there's really nothing caked onto it because we've cleaned it. But there's still going to be some stuff on here, so we're going to throw this thing back in the bath and get it nice and clean. So while I've got the other parts going in the ultrasonic cleaner, I wanted to kind of point out something in this. Inside this, especially these kind that have this little bar on the outside, the way these work, we're going to try to get a nice macro shot up inside it, is there's that little bar right there. You see the little thing hanging down? That thing, when you pull this guy out, now works back and forth to push the bladder down, basically push the air out of the bladder, and when you pull it back, now the bladder will suck up the ink. And when you're cleaning this thing out, if you have to use like a toothpick to get in there, you want to be very careful not to damage that little piece right there, because if you damage it, you are pretty well out of luck. Now with it up out of the way, I can see I have a little bit of debris down at the bottom and maybe a tiny bit actually on top of that little piece there. So we're going to get in there with a toothpick and very, very carefully get everything out of there. All right, so for this part, I'm going to use another pen as my pointer. So now we need to put a new bladder on this part of the pen. Now, if you had a pen like this one or that other one I showed that has a cartridge, you don't have to do that step. You can now just reinstall the cartridge, or in the case of this pen, the converter. Now you can just buy a new converter. You can actually get a converter for a pen that takes these, and I'll have links if you want to check that stuff out down below. But this pen is an older pen, it's a bladder style pen. So you're gonna have to measure across, there's two little steps here. This is the step that goes into the body of the pen. This right here is where we're gluing the bladder to. So the bladder is gonna be glued right onto this part. So you're gonna measure from one side to the other and order yourself some bladders. Now I got these bladders on eBay. They're kind of hard to hunt down. You can't just hop on Amazon and grab these things. So I got these on eBay. These are made out of latex. They do have ones now that are non-latex. I read back and forth on them, and I'm decided to just go with straight latex ones, and these should be something of a tight fit. Now, one thing we do have to do is we do have to determine what length we're going to trim our bladder to. So we're going to line our whole pen up right here. You could measure this, but I'm going to kind of demonstrate here what we're going to do. We want the bladder to be a little bit shorter than the length of the pen. So we're going to cut our bladder right here. So we know where that is. We're going to come right across and very carefully cut our bladder. So our bladder is now cut to length, and traditionally these were glued on with shellac. So we're going to use the traditional method here, good old shellac. Get this out of the way. And we're going to go all the way around the base here, because this is what provides us with a nice seal for the bladder. Now we're going to put our bladder over that. So now we can insert this part into the pen body. Now you want to make sure that that little lever arm is in the down position, and you're going to sneak the bladder just underneath that lever arm. You may need to give it a little twist or two. And we're going to get everything lined up. Give it a push. Now we can reinstall our nib, which is going to go right up in there. And we should now have a functioning pen that should take up ink no problem. We're going to give this a little bit of time to dry, and then let's ink it up. So everything is dried up, and now we are going to ink up our pen. So we're going to use our fingernail, push down right there to get the lever arm up, push that arm into that position, lower it into the ink, and release the arm. Now it should have just taken up ink into the pen. I usually do that a couple times just to force all the air out of it, and then clean the pen of the excess ink. If we did everything right, we should have a perfectly working fountain pen. So I hope this video maybe helped you get an old writing implement that maybe was handed down to you through your family working again. These can be a lot of fun, and they can also become really addictive. But if this video or these kind of videos intrigue you, DIY videos, I also do a lot of stuff around the house, how to fix stuff, how to upgrade stuff, and how to do it on a budget. So if these kind of videos intrigue you, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help out the channel. Now, I will have links to some fountain pen stuff, but like I said, the stuff for these old ones, I found the easiest place to get them, at least in the US, is over eBay. So you might want to check out eBay and search for the things that I talked about in the video. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them down below. I'm always in the comment section answering questions. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, give it a great big thumbs up. Thanks for watching.